Greetings. My name is Rutendo Ngara, and as we enter into these 7 days of rest, I invite us into a deep breath, a collective breath, as we take our imaginations into the future, 100 years from now, when those who will walk after us will look back at us as their ancestors and say, they lived in a time of prophecy. This was a time of tumultuous, entangled becoming. This was a moment when humanity stood at the edge of its own design, a design of waking and weeping, waking to the reality that we have strayed far from the heartbeat of the earth, and weeping for the forests that burn, weeping for the waters that rise, weeping for the soils that crack, weeping for the fires that refuse to be contained, a time needing rest. As we enter this epoch, we know we're at a time of turning. We know we're at a tipping point. We know that the veil is thin and its integrity is thinning even more. Yet the place we speak from cannot be written. This is a place older than the tongue. This is a place more ancient than the drum. This is a place where the heart beats in its original knowing, a place that lives in the breath before the first word. And in many traditions, the cave waits beyond that first word. The cave is a place of unmaking. There we rest where light is not absent but diffused. There we rest where the senses recalibrate. There we rest as one learns to see in the dark. It is in these deep cavernous interiors where prophets and poets, where healers and scientists have gone to remember what knowledge alone cannot teach. It is where we are returned to the earth's interior until we recall our own interior. The cave holds sacredness because it holds memory. The memory of those who sought refuge from the wind, refuge from the cold, refuge from the sun, refuge from the spiritual tempests of time itself. The cave shelters dreams of futures and dreams of forgotten pasts. And within that shelter lies conflict. The sacred, the cave does not erase the conflict, it holds it. So the cave brings rest as a living prophetic intelligence. Rest, R-E-S-T. Rest as remembering relationality, remembering that nothing exists alone, that breath belongs to atmosphere, that water remembers before we do, that humanity is not above the earth, but held within her. Rest as resonance, that recalibration foretold in wisdom traditions, where mind, where body, where spirit and cosmos return to coherence, where domination yields to attunement, where listening becomes law. Restoration, rest as oration, not speech for persuasion, but speech that emerges from silence. That kind of speaking prophets know, language that does not predict, but reveals what is already unfolding. In this way, rest is not stillness alone. Rest is emergence. Emergence from the unknown, emergence into the unknown, emergence through emptiness, emergence through the void. Prophecy has always taught us that the void is not empty. It is preparatory. Rest as emptiness, not absence, but the fertile field from which new orders arise. Rest as engagement with eternity, where linear time loosens its grip, where deeper rhythms return, where time remembers itself. Rest as emancipation, freedom from the tyranny of urgency, from extractive rhythms, from futures built without listening. Here rests becomes stillness. Here rest becomes silence. Here rest becomes solace. Here rest is also sounding the low ancestral frequency that calls us back into alignment. So rest is significance. Rest is the temporal threshold where time meets itself and remembers how to beat with the cycles of the universe and the cosmos again. From here, rest returns us to emergence itself, a supertemporal intelligence that binds us in interdependence, interconnection, interrelation. and beyond the human. Rest draws us into resonance with the more than human, the parahuman, with forces unseen, forces unimagined, forces indispensable. So at this moment when the world is both waking and weeping, we remember that this is what has been prophesied, that rest is not the end of history. Rest is the condition for renewal. As we rest, a question therefore comes before us. What threshold are we willing to cross? What must we allow to die? And what world are we willing to bring forth with breath, with body, with bone? As we rest, we stand in the trembling, that which holds the wiles and the wounds together, that which bows to the forces that dismantle and the forces that create, that which honors the simultaneity of ending and beginning. This is the work before us. This is the offering. This is the trembling. This is the threshold. May we enter these 7 days of rest in reciprocity with self and other, in reciprocity with earth and ancestor, in reciprocity with silence and sound, with the great principle of emptiness. May we rest not to escape the world, but to return to it realigned, remembered, to return to it ready. May we have the courage to cross that threshold. May we have the courage to rest. Thokozani, Tamagu, Ashe.